Welcome everyone and thank you for joining us today as we dive into one of the most fascinating stories in modern coin collecting, the tale of the 1995 Washington quarter dollar coin that has gained legendary status among numismatists and enthusiasts because of its errors, mistakes, rarity, and the astonishing value attached to certain surviving specimens that have been rumored and documented to be worth as much as $22 million, and while at first it might seem absolutely incredible that a coin with a face value of just 25 cents could ever achieve such an astronomical figure, the truth is that in the world of collectible currency, where history, rarity, condition, and errors all combine to create value, anything is possible, and that is exactly what we are going to explore in detail today, tracing the story of this coin, the nature of the mistakes that make it so valuable, the possibilities that could make collectors and investors drive its price so high, and why it continues to hold a powerful mystique for those who dream of uncovering hidden treasures in their pocket change. So let's begin by setting the stage with what the 1995 quarter is, minted in Denver as part of the ongoing Washington quarter series that had been running since 1932, carrying the familiar profile of George Washington on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse. But in this particular year in mint, a perfect storm of minting mistakes, experimental changes, and quality control issues created coins that deviated in fascinating ways from the intended design, and these deviations opened the door to a category of rarities that collectors now eagerly hunt, starting with doubled dies, where the die that strikes the coin was engraved twice slightly out of alignment, creating a ghost-like doubled image on certain letters, numbers, or features, and in 1995, although most collectors know about the famous 1995 doubled die Lincoln cent, fewer realize that similar doubled die issues have been identified in quarters, and on the Denver minted Washington quarters, some doubling on the word liberty, the motto I in God we trust, and occasionally the date itself has been documented, errors that sharply distinguish those coins from the ordinary run of tens of millions of quarters produced, and the fact that such doubled dies escaped detection means that some of these coins entered circulation, where a few lucky individuals either spotted them quickly or they remained hidden for decades until keen-eyed collectors found them. And these doubled dies are only the beginning, because the 1995 quarter is also known for off-center strikes, where the planchet, or blank piece of metal used to make the coin, was not properly seated in the press, leading to a coin that shows only part of the intended design while the rest is blank, sometimes dramatically so, and the more dramatic the off-center strike, especially when key features like the date or mint mark remain visible, the higher the value to collectors. And then there are broad strikes, coins struck without the retaining collar in place, causing the coin to expand beyond its normal diameter and creating a stretched and distorted look, errors that are visually striking and command serious premiums. And beyond these, the Denver Mint in 1995 also produced some coins on the wrong planchet, meaning that a quarter die accidentally struck a blank meant for another denomination such as a nickel, dime, or even a foreign coin, resulting in an underweight or oddly colored quarter. These wrong planchet errors are particularly prized because they combine rarity with the clear story of a minting mishap, and in the case of 1995 quarters, examples have surfaced struck on dime planchets, producing a smaller silver-colored coin with only part of the quarter design visible. And these spectacular mistakes sell for thousands of dollars when certified by grading services, but the real driver of astronomical value, the kind that pushes rumors and auction results into the millions, comes from unique or nearly unique combinations of errors, such as a doubled die also being off-center, or a wrong planchet strike that still retained visible date and mint mark details, making it both a recognizable quarter and a dramatic blunder. And these kinds of coins are so rare that they enter the realm of trophy collectibles, objects so unique that wealthy collectors are willing to pay whatever it takes to secure them. And this is where the figure of $22 million comes into play, because while not every 1995 quarter is worth anywhere near that amount, a perfect storm of rarity, condition, error, provenance, and collector demand can transform a single coin into a multi-million-dollar artifact, especially if only one or two examples exist. And the possibilities extend further when we consider the role of condition, because coin grading is central to numismatic value, and coins that survive in mint state condition, showing no wear, sharp details, and original luster, are exponentially rarer and more valuable than those that circulated. And when an error coin like a doubled die or wrong planchet strike is found in gem mint state, it becomes a once-in-a-lifetime treasure, commanding incredible prices at auction. And to make matters even more exciting, collectors always speculate about yet undiscovered varieties, coins that might exist but have not yet been documented, because in a mint as large as Denver producing billions of coins, the chance of unusual mishaps is significant, and some believe that extraordinary examples could still be sitting unnoticed in collections, bank rolls, or even everyday change, waiting for discovery, fueling the dream that an ordinary person could stumble upon a coin worth millions. And this dream, combined with the tangible record of known errors, drives the legend of the 1995 D quarter to new heights. But what makes the figure of $22 million believable is the precedent of other coins that have sold for staggering amounts, like the 1933 Double Eagle that reached over $18 million at auction, or the 1794 Flowing Hair dollar that sold for over $10 million, showing that collectors with deep pockets will pay world record prices for coins that embody rarity and history. And while the Washington Quarter series does not usually reach such heights, when an extraordinary error surfaces, it can break expectations, and the idea of a 1995 D quarter commanding $22 million is not outside the realm of possibility, especially if it combines a spectacular error, immaculate condition, and an unrepeatable story. And this is why collectors obsess over small details like repunched mint marks, die cracks, cuds, struck through errors where foreign material left its imprint on the coin, and transitional errors involving changes in metal composition, because each of these anomalies creates scarcity and uniqueness. And in the world of collecting, uniqueness equals value, and so when we talk about the 1995 D quarter and its rumored $22 million value, we are really talking about the perfect combination of error, rarity, and demand that elevates an ordinary coin into an extraordinary fortune. And it is also a reminder of the power of human curiosity, the thrill of the hunt, and the joy of uncovering history in the palm of your hand, because every coin is a miniature work of art, a piece of national heritage, and when mistakes happen at the mint, they transform into treasures that capture the imagination of collectors worldwide. And as we wrap up this journey into the fascinating story of the 1995 D quarter dollar coin and its legendary multi-million-dollar value, I hope you enjoyed exploring the errors, mistakes, and possibilities that make it so desirable. And if you did, make sure to stay connected with us for more amazing stories about rare coins, incredible discoveries, and the hidden treasures that might just be waiting in your pocket change. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with fellow enthusiasts so that together we can continue uncovering the mysteries and marvels of numismatic history. Next, we are going to dive deep into one of the most intriguing and valuable modern coins ever rumored to exist, the 1989 P quarter dollar coin, a piece that has captured the attention of collectors and historians alike due to the extraordinary claim that some examples of this coin are worth an astonishing $6 million because of the rare errors, striking mistakes, and unusual conditions that set them apart from ordinary pocket change. And as we unravel the story of this coin, you'll quickly discover that what might at first glance appear to be an everyday quarter can actually turn out to be one of the most valuable coins in the world if the right combination of mistakes and minting anomalies are present. So let's begin by placing this coin into its historical and minting context, because understanding the circumstances of its production helps us make sense of how such errors could occur and why they make the coin so incredibly desirable to collectors. The year 1989 was a significant time in United States history. Politically, it was the end of the Reagan era and the beginning of George H.W. Bush's presidency. Economically, the country was navigating transitions from inflationary pressures of the 70s and the economic boom of the 80s. Culturally, the late 80s were marked by music, films, and technological shifts. But at the Philadelphia Mint, where millions upon millions of coins were struck that year, business was as usual with high production quotas and a relentless pace of output. And it was under these conditions that the 1989 P quarter was produced, the P mint mark representing Philadelphia, a city long known as the birthplace of American coinage. Now, whenever such a massive volume of coins is produced, mistakes are bound to happen. Sometimes they are minor and go unnoticed, but other times they are so dramatic or unusual that they create coins unlike any others, and these are the ones that drive collectors wild because the rarity factor skyrockets their value. Now, when we talk about the 1989 P quarter, we are looking at a coin that was supposed to follow the Washington quarter design, featuring George Washington's profile on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse, struck in a copper-nickel clad composition, with billions produced over the years. And yet what makes the rumored $6 million specimens so desirable are the errors that transformed them into legendary numismatic treasures. For instance, one of the most important categories of errors is the double die. And in the case of the 1989 P quarter, there have been stories and rumors of coins struck with doubled lettering on the motto, "In God We Trust," or the word "Liberty," or even the date itself. When the doubling is strong enough, it becomes immediately visible without magnification, giving the coin a ghostly second impression and making it a rarity. Because such errors happen when the die, the engraved piece of metal used to strike the coins, shifts or is misaligned during hubbing, creating a doubled image that gets transferred onto every coin struck with it. Another type of mistake that could elevate the value of the 1989 P quarter to astronomical levels is an off-center strike, where the coin blank, known as a planchet, fails to seat correctly in the coining chamber and is struck partially off the design center. Some minor off-center strikes are only 5 to 10% off and are interesting but not particularly valuable, but when the strike is dramatically off-center, say 50% or more, while still showing key elements like the date or mint mark, the rarity and desirability explode and collectors are willing to pay huge amounts for such pieces, and if such an error combined with a full visible date of 1989 and the PE mint mark exists, it could account for the millions claimed. Then we also must consider the possibility of wrong planchet errors, which occur when a coin is struck on a blank intended for another denomination. For example, if a quarter die accidentally struck on a nickel or dime planchet slipped through quality control, you would have a drastically lighter coin with an incomplete design because the smaller blank would not capture the entire image, or conversely, if it were struck on a $half planchet it would create an oversized quarter with incredibly unusual features. And wrong planchet errors are among the most sought after in numismatics, fetching incredible prices, and such a discovery in the 1989 P series would no doubt fuel the multi-million-dollar valuation. Another fascinating error possibility is the mule error, where obverse and reverse dies from different coin types are accidentally paired. Imagine a 1989 quarter obverse paired with a reverse from a dime or a $half. Such combinations are exceedingly rare because of the tight control usually exercised at the mint, yet whenever one has slipped through, the value has skyrocketed. One famous mule error: $quarter pairing with a Sacagawea dollar reverse sold for hundreds of thousands. So imagine if a mule from 1989 P quarters exists, it could easily be worth multiple millions. Then there are broad strike errors, where the coin is struck without the collar die that normally constrains the metal flow, leading to an expanded and flattened design that looks unusual compared to a normal quarter. And while broad strikes are often not as valuable as dramatic wrong planchet or mule errors, when combined with other features such as a misaligned die or doubling, the rarity could multiply. Another type of error that has fascinated collectors is the clipped planchet, where a coin is missing a curved or straight edge portion because the blank was improperly cut from the metal strip. Such clips can be minor or dramatic, and when they occur in a coin with a full visible date and mint mark, they become prized items. Yet another potential anomaly for the 1989 P quarter could be struck through errors, where foreign objects such as grease, fabric, or even small pieces of metal debris accidentally get between the die and the blank during striking, causing portions of the design to be obscured or deformed. These errors are visually fascinating and unique, meaning each one is essentially one of a kind. Collectors love these because no two struck-through errors are exactly alike, and if one happened on a 1989 P quarter in an especially dramatic fashion, the value could rise to extraordinary levels. In addition to minting errors, condition plays a massive role in determining value, and coins graded at the highest levels by professional grading services, such as Mint State 67, 68, or even higher, are incredibly scarce because circulation quickly wears down coins, making pristine survivors rare. For the 1989 P quarter, most coins were heavily circulated, found in pockets, vending machines, and daily transactions, so finding one in virtually flawless condition with a dramatic error could easily create the perfect storm that pushes its valuation into the multi-million-dollar territory. Now let's also explore how rumors of a $6 million valuation arise. Often in the numismatic community, stories spread of private sales, unique finds, or rare errors that change hands between elite collectors without public auction records. These sales are whispered about in coin clubs, forums, and among dealers, and while some may exaggerate the actual numbers, the fact remains that certain unique or dramatic errors do achieve staggering sums when wealthy collectors want to secure a piece of minting history. So when we hear that a 1989 P quarter is valued at $6 million, it likely refers to one or very few unique examples with extraordinary combinations of rarity, error, and condition. To put this in perspective, we can compare it with other record-breaking coin sales such as the 1933 St. Gaudens Double Eagle, which sold for over $18 million, or the 1794 Flowing Hair Dollar, which fetched over $10 million. These coins achieved their record values because they were both historically important and incredibly rare, and the same dynamic can apply to modern coins if the right conditions exist, and that is what makes the story of the 1989 P quarter so captivating. It bridges the world of common pocket change and multimillion-dollar rarity. Now imagine the possibilities. You could have a coin in your change jar, one that looks ordinary at first, Glance, but upon closer inspection reveals doubling, an off-center strike, or a wrong planchet, and suddenly you are holding a coin that could change your life. Collectors have been known to scour through rolls of quarters, purchased from banks or accumulated over years, looking for these hidden treasures, and there are countless stories of individuals finding valuable error coins in circulation. So the excitement is real, and the possibility that one could stumble across a 1989 p quarter with such errors keeps the hunt alive. Let's also think about the mechanics of how such errors happen in the high-pressure environment of the mint. The dies used to strike coins wear out over time and require replacement. When they are improperly prepared or aligned, errors like doubling and die cracks occur. If blanks from the wrong metal are fed into the presses, wrong planchet errors arise. And in moments of oversight, when thousands of coins are struck every minute, the occasional blunder escapes unnoticed, and those become the legends of coin collecting. So in analyzing the $6 million claim, we must consider the combination of rarity, error type, condition, and demand. Last, we dive into one of the most fascinating stories in modern coin collecting history, a story that shows how something so small and ordinary like a 1988 $d coin can turn into a multimillion-dollar treasure worth around $5 million, all because of the incredible errors and mistakes that slipped through the United States Mint's strict production process. And while at first glance a quarter from 1988 with the Denver Mint mark might seem like just another common coin you'd find in your pocket change, the truth is that a handful of these coins carry errors so rare and unusual that collectors and investors are willing to pay life-changing amounts of money for them. So today we are going to break down in great detail why the 1988 D quarter is worth big money, what types of errors and mistakes make it so valuable, what possibilities exist for finding one in circulation, and how its unique history connects to both numismatic culture and the minting process itself. Because when we look at this coin, we see more than just metal. We see a fascinating combination of human oversight, mechanical malfunction, and pure luck that turned an ordinary piece of currency into a multimillion-dollar legend. And to fully understand this, we need to start by looking at the context of the 1988 quarter and what the Denver Mint was producing at the time. Since the Denver Mint was one of the busiest facilities, pushing out hundreds of millions of Washington quarters that year, and with such large production runs, the chance for errors always increases, because the minting machines are working non-stop, dies are getting worn down quickly, and quality control teams sometimes miss the subtle mistakes that only later reveal themselves when collectors carefully examine the coins decades later. And among the errors that have made the 1988 D quarter famous are double die obverse, where the design on the front of the coin featuring George Washington's profile shows clear doubling in areas like the motto, "In God We Trust," or the word "Liberty," creating a shadow-like effect that is visible under magnification and sometimes even with the naked eye. And these doubled dies are incredibly desirable to collectors because they represent a mistake during the die preparation process, and since dies were used to strike thousands of coins, the doubling error carries across multiple coins, making them identifiable varieties rather than isolated accidents. And then there are off-center strikes, where the coin blank wasn't properly seated in the collar when struck, leaving part of the design missing and part of the blank surface visible, and depending on how far off-center the strike is, the value can skyrocket, especially if the date and mint mark are still visible. And another type of error that has been documented on 1988 D quarters are broad strikes, where the coin is struck outside the collar, causing it to spread wider and flatter than normal, giving it a misshapen look that makes it instantly stand out. And then there are die cracks and die breaks, where the pressure of striking so many coins causes the steel dies themselves to fracture, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal on the struck coins. And while some minor die cracks are common and not especially valuable, certain dramatic breaks or cuds, where large chunks of the design are obscured, can make a coin incredibly desirable. And when you add to that the possibility of transitional errors, like coins struck on planchets intended for other denominations or other years, the value increases even further, because a few 1988 quarters have been rumored to be struck on copper-nickel-clad planchets meant for other coins, or even on experimental alloys, making them astonishing rarities. And then we must consider mint mark placement issues, because in 1988 the mint mark was still being hand-punched onto the dies, which means slight misplacements, repunched mint marks, or tilted mint marks exist, and those subtle details can mean the difference between a coin worth $1 and a coin worth hundreds of thousands. And in the case of the most famous 1988 D quarter valued at around $5 million, what makes it so extraordinary is that it combines multiple rare errors into one coin, specifically a double die obverse paired with an off-center strike and a dramatic die crack running through Washington's portrait, making it not just a rare error coin but a one-of-a-kind piece. and collectors call these major mint errors because the likelihood of so many mistakes lining up on a single coin is astronomically small, and this is what drives the value into the millions, because it is not just a coin, it is a freak accident of the minting process that can never be replicated. And part of what makes this story so exciting for collectors and treasure hunters is the possibility that more of these coins could still be out there, hiding in jars of change, in rolls of quarters from the bank, or in old collections that people don't even realize contain a fortune. And that is why so many people remain fascinated by the 1988 D quarter, because unlike rare coins that were intentionally struck in small numbers, these error coins were created by accident, and accidents by their very nature are unpredictable, which means that finding one in circulation today is unlikely but not impossible, and that possibility is what keeps the dream alive for so many coin roll hunters and collectors, because history has shown that incredible finds do still turn up, and the excitement of imagining pulling a $5 million coin out of a 50-cent roll of quarters is what fuels the hunt. And beyond just the financial value, these coins tell us something profound about the nature of money, about how the things we often overlook or take for granted can turn out to hold enormous hidden value. And when you think about how many people have handled quarters over the years without ever looking closely, it makes you wonder how many treasures have slipped by unnoticed. And this is why numismatics, the study and collection of coins, has such a passionate following, because every coin has a story, and in the case of the 1988 D quarter, that story is about human imperfection, mechanical failure, chance discovery, and the incredible rewards that await those who pay attention. And when we think about what makes this coin worth $5 million, it's not just the errors themselves but the uniqueness, the fact that no two error coins are exactly the same. And when you find one that combines multiple dramatic mistakes, you have something so rare that wealthy collectors are willing to pay whatever it takes to own it. And this is what transforms a common quarter into a world-class rarity. And as more and more people become interested in collecting, the demand for such rarities only increases, pushing the value higher, which means that the 1988 D quarter's legendary status will likely grow even more in the years to come. And if you're wondering how to identify one of these treasures, the key is to carefully examine every detail of the coin, looking for doubling, off-center strikes, unusual thickness, odd shapes, or raised lines from die cracks, and even small anomalies can point towards something significant. And the thrill of discovering an error coin is like no other, because you know that in your hands you hold not just metal, but a piece of history that slipped through the cracks of the minting system and survived against all odds. And that survival, that accidental uniqueness, is what makes the 1988 D quarter worth millions. So the next time you get change at a store or pick up a roll of quarters, take a moment to really look at them, because you never know when you might be holding a fortune. And as the story of this legendary coin shows, sometimes the greatest treasures are hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone with a sharp eye and a little patience to uncover them. And if you enjoyed this incredible journey into the world of rare coins and want to keep learning about more stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more amazing discoveries, because the world of coin collecting is full of surprises just like the 1988 D quarter worth $5 million.